Hey, Chase with EOTECH, and today we are talking Magnifier 101. So let's start with, what is a magnifier? It's a great question, I'm glad you asked. A magnifier is essentially, it's a tube that magnifies things. Let's be honest, it's glass that's set up with lenses for magnification. You ever seen those old movies with ships where the guy pulls the little thing out? Same deal, okay? So we all know what a magnifier is. Obviously, I'm being a bit facetious, but the point here is that it is going to magnify your image downrange, but because we have holographic technology, not our reticle, and let you see more and potentially take more accurate shots at distance. So that's what a magnifier is. But when would you use a magnifier? Well, there's a variety of opinions on this because low power variable optics are certainly an option and a thing. You should check out our Voodoo line, by the way. But magnifiers sort of provide a different solution to the problem or question of magnification. The cool thing about magnifiers is they allow you to run a truly 1x holographic weapon sight for all of your close to intermediate distance shooting. You get all the benefits and speed of the HWS without having the magnifier in place. However, you can flip it into place when you'd like to either use a magnifier for observation or for shooting at longer ranges. The magnifier isn't actually required to shoot at longer ranges. Obviously, if the barrel is oriented appropriately at the target, the bullet will go there. The magnifier doesn't make that happen, but it does increase our degree of confidence and lets us see more farther away. So that's kind of the idea behind the whole why you'd use a magnifier. Now, individually, you got to make the decision, do you want an LPVO or do you want a magnifier? I have tended over the years to gravitate towards magnifiers because they do allow me to use a holographic weapon sight, like I said, without having the downsides of an LPVO at low power. There are some great LPVOs out there and they certainly can be fast, but the just hard truth of the matter is they're never quite as fast as a HWS, and the illumination on them is never quite the same as what you're going to get out of an HWS. So that's sort of the difference between LPVOs and magnifiers and what a magnifier actually does. But now, since this is Magnifier 101, let's talk about all the commonly asked questions that we get on how to properly utilize a magnifier on your rifle. Starting off with the obvious one, placement. First off, there are two options on the market. Whether you're running a riser or not can determine whether or not you're going to run a flip to side or flip to center. So let's start with the flip to center. Unity Tactical kind of changed the magnifier game with the flip to center. What this allows you to do is put your optic on a riser. It brings up to 226, and then that gives you the space to actually flip the magnifier to the center, hence the name, flip to center, and that keeps it over top of the gun. You don't have a snag hazard hanging off, you don't have the weight hanging off one side or the other, and it keeps it nice and low below your optic line. You can shoot over it, and then when you need it, you flip it up and it's there to use. In my opinion, this is the penultimate mounting option for a magnifier. But for those of you who don't want to run that particular riser, or you don't want a riser at all, we do have the tried and true and trusted flip to side. No matter how you want to run your optic, left or right, it's there when you need it to flip down behind your optic and get to work. That brings us to our next question, mounting. At what distance should I mount my magnifier from my HWS? Now, here's the really cool part. It doesn't matter. As you can see here, we have the Hellion and the DD, and they're at different distances, and they both work just fine. There is no set appropriate distance for mounting a magnifier from your optic. It really depends on what you like to see. So you can sort of play with your magnifier, move it around, and decide, hey, that's the image of the reticle that I like, that I'm comfortable with. Then you adjust your focus. You get the little knobs to turn in there to zero up the reticle within the magnifier, and you're good to go. Now that takes us to our next question. Do I need to zero my magnifier? Technically, no. As long as the magnifier is actually seeing the reticle is still on and will work. But it's a very uncomfortable thing for humans. We like to have all of our eyes and what we're looking at aligned in a nice straight line. And so that is the whole purpose behind the adjustment knobs for windage and elevation on the magnifier. Once you put it on there, just turn the knobs and get it how you want it. But keep in mind, as long as your optic is zeroed, the magnifier is going to display a usable, workable reticle that will still hit what you're aiming at. All right, next, let's talk about interpupillary distance. Interpupillary distance and ocular lens distance. Well, those are some fun words. What does that mean? Pretty much all it means is the magnifiers have a certain eye relief. That means how far your eyeball, the inner pupillary distance, needs to be from the ocular lens. So ocular lens, objective lens. How far do you put your eye from the magnifier? On the G43, that's 2.5 inches approximately. And back there on the G45, you can see it's 2.6. So 2.5. So you want to be about 2.5 inches to get a perfect eye relief with no parallaxing or that scope shadow that we see in the magnifier. And like I said, because this has no set distance from the optic, you can set your length of pull to be appropriate for you on your stock, and then you can put the magnifier where you need it to be for your proper eye relief, and then you can position your optic where you need it to be. And that way it works for you, because it's your gun, so make sure it works for you. It's kind of important. Now, the astute among you may have noticed that on the Unity Tactical flip to center mount, the magnifier is upside down. Weird, right? Actually, no, it doesn't matter. Just like the reticle doesn't actually need to be zeroed and centered in the magnifier to make it maintain its zero in accuracy, the magnifier can also be upside down or sideways, whatever works best for you. End of the day, that's the way that they needed to mount the magnifier in order to make this system work, but it has absolutely no effect on the performance of the magnifier at all. So I just wanted to put that note out there for you in case you were wondering. Finally, let's talk about, can you use a magnifier with something other than our holographic weapon sights? Yes. Should you? Of course not. What did you expect me to say? Yeah, it works with red dots as well. It's just fine. And you can use other companies' magnifiers with our HWSs, but again, what are you doing with your life? Come on. Final note, in all seriousness, magnifiers don't work real well under night vision. Technically speaking, you can play this weird focus game where if your rifle isn't moving and you're not moving, you can adjust your nods, and you can adjust the focus on your magnifiers or your LPVOs, and maybe it'll sort of line up, kind of work. It's awful. Let's not play that game. So if you're shooting under night vision, do keep in mind you're going to want to probably get your magnifier out of the way. LPVOs aren't going to work real well. That's why so many people are running red dots to the side or on the top of their LPVOs. So just as a quick note, there are some limitations to magnifiers, especially under night vision. And that, guys, is Magnifiers 101. Thank you so much for watching. If you got any comments, questions, put them down below. We'd love to hear from you guys on how you're running magnifiers, what you like about them, what you don't like about them, what guns you're running them on, all that good stuff. Thank you so much for watching. Train hard, live free. See you next time.